Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matt, I am the American-Canadian Gamer, and I have been playing a whole lot of Call of Duty Advanced Warfare today. I actually took the day off of work in order to play it and really get a feel for the game. I've gone up quite a bit in the rank. I'm up to rank 36 by now, and I have played all day, basically, as much as the game has allowed me. The game hasn't really worked all day, unfortunately. There was a very long period of downtime, but I have played quite a bit today. Then I just had this amazing match here on Retreat that I'm going to be showing you right now, and it's like 10:40 at night, so I'm like, might as well just give my thoughts on the game and let you know what I think of it as a person who loves first-person shooters and loves Call of Duty just as a series in general, and who's also kind of a bit nervous about this game because of how Ghosts came out. But I honestly am glad that I did pick up Advanced Warfare, because after playing it for a little bit, that all my fears were put to rest. This game has none of the disappointing aspects that Ghost had. It is optimized well, it runs well, it looks pretty good, it feels really good. Everything about this game is actually really good. It's a really solid title. Now, really, your enjoyment of this game is going to come down to how much you actually do like the Call of Duty series, which is pretty much everything you can say about Call of Duty. If you don't like Call of Duty, you're probably not going to like this Call of Duty. If you like Call of Duty, or you have liked Call of Duty in the past, you probably are actually going to like this one. And I'm gonna get on the big thing right here, talk about the major changes they've made, and the most obvious one is the exosuit. And my immediate thought when I first saw this was, wow, they kind of went Titanfall on us with this thing here, and they even made a point to say, like, we've been working on this since before Titanfall was announced. We didn't rip them off, we swear. And they really didn't. The movement is actually very different than what you see in Titanfall. In Titanfall, the movement is a little more fluid, I want to say. It's more about moving onto the surface than off of the surface. In Advanced Warfare, it's a lot more, I don't know what the word for it is, but you're going one direction, then you're just immediately going another direction. It's a lot more sporadic in that sense, where you can just take like a right corner and just immediately go forward to the right, then forward again, and you don't have any kind of weird lag between them. You don't kind of get stuck. But as I was about to say, like, comparing this to Titanfall, I'm not sure which one I like more. And I think what it comes down to is the fact that they're two different games, and for the Call of Duty style game, this is definitely the better movement system. Like, the wall running and stuff really just wouldn't fit in these tighter corridors and these smaller segments. But if you were in Titanfall and you had this kind of movement, this wouldn't work because you wouldn't have the agility and the height that you would need to avoid the Titans. So I think in each game, their movement styles work pretty well within their own titles, but they wouldn't work in each other's titles, if that makes any sense. So what I'm saying is, the movement is really good. The movement is fun. It does seem to have a little bit of a mind of its own sometimes. I mentioned this in my last live commentary on the game. Sometimes when you go to move, you'll just kind of dash one direction on occasion, and you don't know why that happens. It just kind of does. I don't know what it is about it. It just sometimes takes a mind of its own. Then the auto-mantling, which you can disable, by the way, I haven't disabled it yet. The auto-mantling can be really weird. Sometimes it mantles, sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes when you combine it with lag, you're all of a sudden on a rooftop when you were just a split second on the floor. Like, it's just like, oh, you actually mantled this, let's go back and fix that because you were lagging. That happens on occasion. But other than that, it does feel like a really solid Call of Duty title that is sped way up. The game is so much faster than the previous Call of Duties, and it is counterbalanced by the fact that you are more mobile. Like, it's really fast, but because you're mobile, things don't just happen immediately. You actually can avoid gunfights, you can get away, you can avoid gunfire, so you don't just like die immediately all the time as soon as you see somebody and turn a corner. You turn a corner, you see somebody, all of a sudden you're both trying to avoid each other, and the fights actually drag out for a few more seconds than what you're used to having in a Call of Duty game, where usually it's like one person sees another, person A kills person B, rinse and repeat, and it goes on and on. And here I start going on this little tear that I have if I can get this guy down eventually. I went on this really nice tear in this match. I actually got a Ruthless out of it, where I had to actually track down and melee kill people in order to take their weapons and get ammunition in order to keep going on my kill streak. It was actually that intense of a kill streak. I hadn't had that happen yet. This is an unusually great game for me. I don't normally play like this, and I don't want to give the impression that I'm normally this good of a player. This just was one of those games where I was in the zone and everything just seemed to work out in my favor. But as I was going to say, this is a really solid Call of Duty title. Everything about it feels really good, and it is 10 times better than Ghosts in just every fashion. The created class system is really awesome. The pick 13 is just really good. So far, most of the perks are what we've seen before, but there are a couple of additions, and they've kind of combined some before. There's one that increases the view range of your minimap, and also makes it so that when you kill somebody, their death icon doesn't appear on screen. And this guy had to chase him down to get his weapon so I could continue my streak. But they added one that makes it so your exosuit does not leave radar marks, which, yes, every time you dash or double jump, your exosuit actually leaves a mark on the radar that I'm actually going to call the exo mark. And whenever you fire a grenade as well, you create an exo mark on the minimap, and there is a perk that disables that, which I highly recommend using, because being able to move just without alerting the enemy to your position is a really good thing to have, and I really highly suggest it, because it's a perk that you get very early on, and it's in the 3rd tier slot, so it's really only competing with Toughness and Scavenger, and it's worth taking perk 3 Greed. And if you're a person like me that really did like the Black Ops 2 style of created class, the pick 10 system, you are really going to like the pick 13 system. Everything that you remember from the pick 10 is here, and they made it so that the score streaks are actually part of the loadout itself, so that you can actually say, I don't want any score streaks, I'm going to have more attachments and more grenades, and that's what I do. I only have a UAV, as you can see in the bottom right hand corner. That is the only kill streak that I use. I don't really have a need for anything else. I don't like using score streaks and kill streaks because they take you out of the game. I like using the ones that you can use side by side with yourself, like the UAV, but I don't like having to sit there. I'd rather have like a chopper flying in the air shooting people while I run around shooting people as well. I don't want to sit in a corner controlling a kill streak, leaving myself vulnerable and taking myself out of the game like that. So I just use the UAV, I let it do its work, and the UAVs in this game actually do stack like they did in, was it Black Ops or Modern Warfare 3 or one of the previous Call of Duties, where the UAVs would stack together. When you get 2 UAVs in the air simultaneously for your team, your enemies show up as red arrows as opposed to red dots. I think if you get the 3rd, you can see them through walls, I think. That's what I've noticed. It could have been another effect happening, but it seems that if your team gets 3 UAVs in the air simultaneously, you can see people through walls, which has happened quite a few times as I've played. So that's a really interesting thing to see here and there. Like, it's nice to see the UAVs stacking again, because the UAVs, they're, like, everybody gets them here and there, but they've always been kind of, like, lackluster. And now they're a little more powerful, but it takes teamwork to make them good. And there are a few other things I wanted to say about this game. The directed energy weapons are a bit of a letdown. Actually, okay, a lot of weapons are actually a bit of a letdown. The directed energy weapons, I feel like they were scared of making them too good, so I feel like they're not as good as they should be. Let me put it that way, because really the AK-12, the weapon I'm using now, seems to be the best weapon in the game. It's just accurate, it's powerful, it has a low rate of fire, so it stays consistently accurate. It hits a good punch, has good range with the suppressor. I still kill really well at long range. You can just see I'm doing really well with the thing. And I think the AK-12 is just the best weapon. And there are some other really interesting ones, like you have a weapon that I think like makes its own ammo. I haven't really looked into it yet. It's a 4-burst rifle. That's really interesting. There's an M14 that I haven't had the chance to use yet. There's a breach action single shot pistol that's okay. There's a railgun sniper that's really inconsistent in its damage. Like, I've gotten upper body shots with it and it hasn't gotten the kill. Like, really weird things like that have happened. Like, a lot of weapons seem really lackluster, and I feel like this game's gonna fall into that kind of Call of Duty curse where only 3 weapons are really like the ones that people use. And right now it seems like there's one of the SMGs, there's this assault rifle, the AK-12, and then there's the default assault rifle. Those seem to be the only real weapons that people are using right now. And that's a shame, because they did have a lot of neat ideas, I thought, for them, but that may change over time as people start to learn the strengths and weaknesses of each and every weapon, and we might see the meta change down the road. But right now, the AK-12 is definitely one of the better weapons. And, oh, while I'm, cloaked right now, let's talk about the exosuit abilities. You have basically like a riot shield and a ping ability. The cloak that I'm using right now, a stim, like a med kit kind of ability that basically gives you about 5 seconds of juggernaut. They're not overpowered. They're actually pretty good. Like, you can still see cloaked guys really clearly. There's really no advantage to having them. They're just useful enough to make them useful, but they're not game changers. they don't break the balance in any way, and I was really happy to see that they didn't make them super overpowered. You're not going to rely on them like you do armor abilities in Halo 4. In this game, they're just kind of there, and you just kind of use them as you need them. You don't rely on them. You just rely on your guns and your grenades, just like always. And, you know, your melee is a big part of it, too. And that's also something I want to point out. The melee attacks in this game aren't the tracking commando that they've been in the past. Sometimes your melee hits can seem a little awkward, but you don't slide across the floor a lot. They let you do that yourself, like with your own exo abilities. And right there at the end, I was going for the knife kill when I was out of ammo, wanting to get the very last kill, and it got stolen from me at the very last second. But I need to end this now because we are running out of time. But overall, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare is shaping up to be a great game. The only problem I'm really having with it is that the PC version does not seem to have dedicated servers like the Xbox Live version does, which is really strange. I don't know why they didn't give dedicated servers to this version of the game, because you saw there was a host migration earlier in the game, so that tells us that there is no dedicated server. So I don't know what's up with that. The game does seem to run pretty well when it wants to run. It's been working really well for me. I'm able to get 60 FPS at max settings. Everything so far has been really good, and if you're a fan of Call of Duty, or you've been a fan of Call of Duty in the past, I do highly recommend picking this game up, because it really is a solid installment in the series. I don't think it's the savior of the series, but it is incredibly entertaining, incredibly enjoyable, and there's a lot of fun to be had in it. So, as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. My name is Matt, and I'll see you next time.